Hey team, we're going to start a short series and it's going to be some board tips to help you or your soldiers prepare for a promotion board, for a competition board, based off of things that I've seen over the course of, to be honest with you, probably 5 dozen boards, I guess. And that's promotion boards and competitions. So sitting as both a board member for about 5 dozen, as well as probably a dozen or so boards that I've personally been on myself. I've seen a lot of mistakes. I've seen a lot of good things in people, and I've seen a lot of people trip up on some things, and some of them are really basic, and that's what this series is going to focus on, is some of those basic things that you have to get right. If you can't get these things right, man, you're setting yourself up for failure. So don't take things for granted. On that note, man, as we keep going, make sure you drop some comments down below. That way we can continue to keep this conversation rolling. So I'm coming at you from the old field office, as it were. I'm scouting out a new location out behind us. And I just thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about the medal, right? So this is the first of 4 things that we're going to talk about. You need to know what your medal is for your company and for your battalion, especially if you are a low-density MOS soldier who's might be a support personnel for that company, and you may not feel like you're really connected with the daily of what your organization is doing, because maybe you're a cook, maybe, and you're not in a cook battalion. You're not working in a DFAC. Maybe you work in a motor pool for an MP unit, as it were. Maybe you're a supply soldier or specialist in any number of organizations. You need to know, because your battalion command sergeant major and those board members who are sitting off to the left and to the right don't care what your MOS is. They expect you to know what that mission is for the organization, right? So odds are you probably only have 3 to 5 METs that you need to know, and you need to know what your role is in that, in order to help make sure that your commander can get after those things that are important to him, right? Does that make sense? Like, you need to know what your unit is all about. Next up, man, you need to know your soldiers, especially if you're a dadgum NCO, man. You should know everything there is to know about your soldiers. You should know their first name. You should know where they live. You should know how big their family is. You should know what their goals are. You should know and be able to talk about their weapon qualification. You should be able to talk about their physical fitness. You should be able to talk about their MOS proficiency. You should be able to talk about all the things that those board members care about, and that's what they care about you in order to be able to do, is training. So how are you getting after that, and how are you leveraging their strengths and in order to build their weaknesses up, so that the team is better? Because once that team is better, then that squad and that platoon and that company and that battalion is going to be better. So man, make sure that you spend some time and know who they are and know about them. You got to be able to talk some story. What are their struggles? What have they been dealing with? What are their accomplishments? And hopefully you're setting your soldiers up for success so that they have good stories to tell, right? Some good accomplishments. Maybe it was a recent field exercise that you can bring about some of these things. And what that's going to do for you is, when they come sit before the board, they've already heard a little bit about their story from you as their NCO. Does that make sense? Like, if you know anything, man, you gotta know your soldiers. Now, next up is another one that I've seen so many folks stumble on, and that's not knowing their chain of command and NCO support channel. Man, you need to know this from your company all the way up to the dadgum stinking army. You should be able to spit them off, and even more importantly, you should know their faces. So when you're on CQ or when you're on staff duty, man, take some photos of these things and start studying them, because odds are their faces are plastered on the walls around you, and you need to know. That way, if your command sergeant major picks up a piece of paper with a photo and says, "Who is this?" you're going to know who it is. Once you say, "I don't know," to something like that, it's going to open up the door to dudes like me to start digging in to dudes like you. So make sure you know your NCO support channel and your dadgum chain of command. Super important, man. I can't tell you how many times I've seen folks mess that up. All right, and so last up for this one is I need you to know your calendar and battle rhythm events. What does your organization do on a weekly basis, right? Monday, your Tuesdays, your Wednesdays, your Thursdays, and your Fridays, right? What does your battalion do? What does your corps and division do? How are you nested within that? What's on your short range calendar, right? The next quarter that was probably briefed from your company to your battalion or brigade for that quarterly training brief. What's on that? What are those major field exercises? Because what that does is it gives you task and purpose for what your priorities are in order to lean forward to get ready for these things. If you got some field exercises coming up, maybe it's a deployment, maybe it's an overseas exercise. All kinds of things going on around the Army, and you need to know especially what your organization is doing and what they're plugged into. Are they supporting things? Are they the training audience? Whatever it is, man, you need to be able to know and talk about these things because it's important. The board members know what this calendar is. It's important to what we do on a day-to-day basis. It's important to how we function and how we lead our companies. And so you need to know what your role and what your place is in this. And the only way to know that, again, is to snap some photos of those calendars, and perfect time, perfect place to do some studying that. Again, just like looking at your NCO support channel and chain of command is while you're on duty, just look and study it. Make sure you have some meetings with your squad or with your platoon so that you know what to expect, right? All the time we hear folks who don't know what's going on. Well, all we have to do is start asking some daggum stinking questions, and we can figure out what's going on. If we just show a little intestinal fortitude and a little bit of drive and determination to make sure that we are plugged into and are bettering our organization, because man, guess what that's a part of the definition of, man? That's a part of the definition of leadership. And you're here to help project your potential to be a leader in the Army, whether it's to become a non-commissioned officer or whether it's to become a staff sergeant, right? You need to know what that definition is and how important it is and how it interweaves into everything, right? To accomplish the mission and improve the organization. These two things, man, they go hand in hand. And so all of these questions, ultimately, they are driving the why these types of questions are being asked in the first place. Team, just 4 quick things that are basic, that are fundamental, that you have to know. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you like it. Consider sharing it out with a friend or battle buddy. Make sure you leave some comments down below, because that's the only way that I get better is through that dialogue and that conversation and that community that we're building so that we can master our craft and develop our dadgum tactical virtue, man. I appreciate all you guys. You stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.